Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Career Connection Chat, where you state the career and we make the connection. As always, I'm your host, Seth Lawrence, Delaware Military Academy, class of 2022. Love saying that. And welcome to Season 3. We made it. Season 3, Government Officials. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Season 3, Government Officials, Episode 1. In this episode, we will be covering those who work in the government to safeguard the rights, welfare, and treatment of our honorable veterans of service. The mission of the Delaware Office of Veteran Services, or OVS, is to support veterans living in the first state and their families. OVS assists with access to services and benefits that veterans have earned through their military service, including disability compensation, employment, housing, and more. OVS advises and assists policymakers and agencies across state government in matters that pertain to Delaware veterans and their families. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited to announce our next guest speaker for this episode, Joshua Matticks. Joshua Matticks is the Executive Director of the Delaware Office of Veteran Services. Professionally, he has served our nation's service members and veterans in many capacities ranging from volunteer to service officer. His active duty service comprised of heavy aircraft maintenance and the lead non-commissioned officer of the Dover Air Force Base Honor Guard. After being injured in Libya, Josh retired and began his journey with the Air Force Wounded Warriors. Josh spent 2 years with Team Air Force as a Wounded Warrior athlete, where he received 2 bronze medals during the 2016 Warrior Games, an international competition between the branches of the U.S. military, Australia, and Britain. He volunteers with the Recovering Airman Mentorship Program through the Air Force, guiding wounded warriors through the difficulties of transitioning from active service to civilian status. Josh began working with the Office of Veteran Services as an administrative specialist in 2016, where his love for assisting veterans grew into a passion. He became a veteran service officer in 2017 and began a working relationship with Dover Air Force Base to better assist active duty, National Guard, and Reserve service members by creating classes to better understand veteran benefits. Josh selflessly dedicates every ounce of his energy and knowledge into giving back to the Delaware military community, and as director, he ensures the OVS shares the core values of the Air Force: integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Season 3, Episode 1, Government Officials. Today with me, I have the State of Delaware Executive Director of the Office of Veteran Services, Joshua Matticks. How are you, sir?
I'm doing wonderful today. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I can't wait to dive into a deep discussion about what you do. Let's start off with question number 1. Can you explain who you are and how you got to where you are now?
That can be a long question, or a long answer, but I'll do what I can for you here. My name is Josh Matticks. I'm the Executive Director of the Office of Veteran Services here in Delaware. How I got here. You start when I'm a child. I'm just kidding, man. We're not going to start there. Military career, it went pretty well for me. I started out enlisted, worked my way through about 8 years before I was critically wounded and had to go through some brain surgery and some recovery, and started up with the Wounded Warrior program with the Team Air Force, did 2 years of that, won some medals, had some fun, traveled around the country in that and around the world with that program and that team. And then I started working with the state of Delaware, helping veterans. Started as a door greeter, just smiling and helping veterans, making sure that they felt better and felt listened to and heard, which is important for veterans in our military community, is just being heard. Worked my way through as a service officer, did that for about 4 years, helping veterans and families and dependents receive benefits from the VA, and moved into the executive director position. Fast burner, but I'm here.
Absolutely. You started from the bottom, now you're here.
That's exactly right.
So what characteristics would make a good person in this career field?
I really stick with the first thing is always the best is integrity. You have to have integrity. You have to be honest with yourself, honest with those around you, and be ready to expect anything and honestly respond, no matter what. Even if it's the worst thing in the world that you hear, if it's truth, you stand up to it, and that's that integrity portion. something I learned in the military, and some prospective military individuals joining the military, is the ability to change and to adjust, and the willingness to learn. Even if you think you know everything, I promise you, you don't. No matter how high up you are, there's always something new to learn. Something that I learned as soon as I started as the executive director, the first thing I did was I went to each one of my positions and I took a day with each one of those individuals. So my cemeteries, I worked with the grounds crew one day, worked with the individuals at the front desk. If I didn't know the position, I worked with them to understand the position, because you won't know it otherwise. You won't learn anything new. You won't be able to have the last piece that I think is very important, is empathy. You won't be able to have that empathy to understand what they're going through, what your staff is going through, what your organization is going through, what those veterans are going through. So empathy is huge as well. Those are the qualities that I really hold dear to me.
I couldn't say it better myself. Now, we met at Reach Across America down in Bear, Delaware, at the Delaware Memorial Veterans Cemetery. And that's one of my favorite things to do, to support veterans and support our fallen, honor our fallen soldiers. And what's your favorite thing to do in the career?
My favorite thing to do in my career that I'm currently in right now, and intend to be in for quite some time, is education. I love to educate those transitioning from active service to the veteran world. I'd love to educate them and inform them of what their resources are, what their benefits are, what their quote entitlements could be. I want to help wounded warriors understand the pitfalls of the VA, or the pitfalls of the healthcare systems, or the pitfalls of the military, and help. Because while there may be pitfalls, there's also another system that's going to pick up that pitfall. That's what they're designed to do. But it's really hard for individuals to understand that. There's so much out there. So education on that part is huge for me. It's one of my favorite parts. Reach Across America. Love the honor of the fallen. I love respecting the families. But if you heard my impromptu speech when I was there, teaching the children, that's our next generation, to be the greatest generation. So they understand the sacrifices that were made for them to be there to provide those wreaths. So that's an important piece. Everything that I do is all about education. That's my favorite part of my job.
Absolutely. I mean, everything, the Reach Across America program is fantastic. I started it off in 2017 as a young Civil Air Patrol cadet in, I think, 7th grade or whatever. And every single year I bring more and more people that I knew there. And I think this year Academy brought like 150 cadets or so to the program. It was I think
a very nice turnout, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And it was amazing. It was amazing. The cadets really loved it, and they were talking about it with other friends. I think next year we're gonna have an even bigger turnout, and I'm very excited to see that again. Even though it won't be a DMA, I'll still always come back to Delaware and do the ceremony.
Please come back. I want to see how snazzy you look in your next uniform.
I'll try. I will. I definitely will. Now, we talked about your favorite thing, but what is your least favorite thing, or something that's kind of like you have to do but isn't something you enjoy?
That's a tough one. I'm gonna say the travel in between. One day I really hope that there's something that can speed up the process for me to get to one spot to the next, but I have to make sure that there's time for me to get from one spot to the next. And that seems minuscule and minute, and sometimes individuals need that. There's a certain point in your career when you don't have time for travel. And that's probably my least favorite thing, is if I have to be in Southern Delaware at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then I have to be in Philadelphia at noon, and I have to find the logistics and try to make sure that my speeches, or that my briefings, or my interviews, or whatever event I'm at, that I can get out of that process to the next process. And I feel like the travel takes away from the reason that I'm there quite often. And that bothers me a lot. There's a lot of honor and respect that goes into a lot of these events. And it's really hard for me to say, okay, I'm sorry that I have to leave because I got to get to the next event, because they deserve every bit of my time and my respect that I can possibly give. So travel's the hardest one for me to get by.
I can feel that. And just for the record, so you've been honoring soldiers and airmen and veterans before you even were in the Officer of Veteran Services, because I believe you were a part of the Honor Guard at Delaware Air Force Base. So you were doing this since you basically got into the military. And
Yeah,
this is
yeah,
your
I
life.
have. It has been my world. I think what it really takes for individuals who want to be in a leadership position or in a military leadership position is there's. I think everybody has their own unique path. I firmly believe that everybody has their own unique path, but I think that there are pieces that are required for you to get there, and you have to understand what the ultimate sacrifice really is for you to understand what you're actually doing and what you signed up for in the military. And when I joined the military, I did not understand that. I did not have the same respect I gained when I started with the Dover Air Force Base Honor Guard. And I actually started as a honor guardsman, and I did my tour there as an honor guardsman. And then as soon as I was done with that, they brought me back. It was probably about 2 months after I was done with that. They brought me back as the NCOIC. And I was there. I was actually the assistant NCOIC. I worked my way from the trainer to the assistant NCOIC and then moved up. But it was a humbling experience. It's definitely something that you will never forget. And I think personally, I think everybody who joins the military should have to have that stint, whether you want to or not. You should have to go and do that so you fully understand the ramifications of your service. Not everybody that goes overseas comes home, and that's a very, very serious thing. Or not everybody that signs on that dotted line gets to finish their contract. Unfortunately, working in the military is it's a harsh duty in many cases, but there's a lot of respect and a lot of honor and a lot of pride that goes into it. And I think the Honor Guard does that for you. It brings that out for you, and you have a larger respect for the military after that.
Absolutely, I've seen some of the things that the Honor Guard does, and it's always a solemn occasion. It's always respectful, and it's amazing just to watch how the military members honor heroes that they don't even know, but they wear the same uniform, they shed the same American blood, and that's enough for them to give a proper goodbye, and it's something amazing to see.
I agree. The big thing that I want to also bring out to light is you don't know the families that stand behind these veterans, these active duty members. They serve just as tough a tour as these military members, because they're losing their military and they're losing that member for a certain amount of time, or they're serving just the same. So when you bury a veteran or when you bury an active duty member, you meet these family members. It becomes a part of you, and you understand a lot more of what this world really entails. It's not just the military member, it's that entire family. It's the spouse, it's the husband, it's the children, it's the mothers, it's the daughters, it's everything that goes inside of that. And without that Honor Guard experience, or without that piece of training that you could have in that military, that important piece, you're not going to see it. And I think it's important to have.
Absolutely. And now you work with the Office of Veteran Services. What big projects or events are you guys working on right now?
That is Memorial Day. Memorial Day is always a big one. We have 2 events on Memorial Day. One over the weekend, and then one on Memorial Day itself. We also are doing our very first ever golf tournament at the end of next week. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to see how that goes. It's called the Battleground Classic. It's going to be fun. And then in July, we've got our Freedom 5K coming up. And it's just a rotation of events from there. I'm fairly certain we've got the Veterans Day event, and then our annual trust fund dinner, and then rolling right into everything else that comes along with it. I mean, it's a never-ending cycle of events.
Amazing, and they're all great events. They're all great events that get our help our veterans transition into civilian life and all that. And I know you worked a lot with the Air Force program that helped airmen transition into civilian life. Could you explain what you did in that part?
So as a wounded warrior, I had I'm not going to say it was a pleasure, it was an opportunity to see a different side of the military. And it's a side of the military that many won't see. A lot of individuals see you get injured and you're retired, but they don't see what goes into that retirement, what goes into the recovery. They don't just send you on your merry way. I had my brain surgery in 2014, and it took 2 years for them to retire me. There was a process that was in place. They made sure that I was healthy enough to stand. I was in a wheelchair for 8 months. And they put an entire team around me. I had a recovery care coordinator that worked with me. I had a wounded, injured, and ill nurse that worked with me. And whenever I got to a healthy enough spot for me to finally stand on my own and do things on my own, I started assisting other individuals that were going through the very same thing that I went through. And by that, I mean, they brought me on to help individuals who had traumatic brain injuries and who had brain surgery, or who couldn't walk anymore that possibly could walk again, and, explain to them what they're going through and what they're going to be going through, and the different possibilities of the world that they're entering, and different healthcare opportunities, different behavioral health systems that are out there. And then also speaking with the families and explaining to them, hey, this individual may be going through this, but understand it's not the end of the world. And if you hang on tight, I promise you they're going to make it through the other side. And that's the mentorship side of that was what really took on another, built on itself. And I've been there since pretty much the beginning, and that was about 2015, 2016. And I still to this day mentor. I think I have 3 or 4 mentees under me right now, wounded warriors from all over the country. So it's really what it is. I can go into a lot deeper detail if you'd like, but for the matter of trying to keep this on track, I'll keep it quiet for you, bud.
And speaking of which, so a lot of our viewers want to know, especially when they see now in media and just in general, soldiers and, well, really service members, something from like mental health, homelessness, all that, and they want to know, how can I get involved? How can I help? What advice would you give to citizens who want to get back to their veterans?
First thing I want to say, and this is something that I harp on every time, I do transition assistance courses on base at the Delaware Air Force Base here. And the one thing that I try to push as hard as possible is there's a negative stigma about behavioral health in the military. And as a service officer, when a veteran is transitioning or an active duty member is transitioning out of service, I have yet to meet an individual who was not stressed about their upcoming unknowns. And that's what behavioral health is there for. If there's something that we should be doing, is promoting that behavioral health is not a negative stigma, that you have the ability and there are things out there that could help you. And it doesn't have to come with a diagnosis. It could come with learning how to breathe 5 times in a minute. The little things just to take the anxiety levels down a notch so that you can properly and comfortably move forward with your day without having shaky hands or without having negative thoughts, or something as small as that. But it's such a negative stigma in the military. If civilians are wanting to assist, there are plenty of programs out there that are volunteer programs for veterans with PTSD, with anxiety, depression. You can name it, it's out there. There are equestrian programs. There are, if you name the program, there's a rock climbing program, there's a hunting program, there's a fly fishing program. Get into these groups, speak with the veterans, understand their mindsets and what they're doing and how they're thinking, so that you can better the world around you, because that's what it's really about. That's breaking those barriers, those walls down, so that individuals understand, that the world understands that it's not a negative thing to have these problems. You don't suppress them. If you suppress them, it gets worse. You speak about them, you open up, you allow it to come in, and you do what you have to do to make it better, which is often something as simple as breathing.
And just put that out there, especially those who live in Middletown, I know I always lend a helping hand to VFW Post 3792, and I'm down in Townsend, and I've been there countless times talking to veterans, helping them out with their various events they have, bingo night and all this other things that they do. And it's just a great opportunity to talk to your local veterans who you might just walk past in Walmart and not even realize that they're a veteran, and just seeing them in a different light and talking to them about their careers in the Air Force, Marine Corps, Navy, and hearing their stories is just great, because a lot of them have great stories to tell and great things, and some of them also have pretty tragic stories to tell, and just being able to listen and understand the other point of view, the other side of a conversation is just, it's just, it resonates with you, and it makes you want to do more. So if you ever Middletown, you want to stop by, they would love to help.
Absolutely. And I would like to say, just listening to somebody or to a veteran speak and just tell their story, that helps them. That gives them an outlet, a peer-to-peer outlet. That's very important to be able to tell your story, whether it's a good story, a bad story, a sad story, a terrifying story. It assists that veteran, and it's going to assist you. You're going to learn something about the world that is the military. It's not all sunshines and rainbows, and that's okay. They made it out, and it just makes them feel a lot better to tell their story. If that's one thing that I could say, be empathetic, let them tell their story. I assure you, you're going to walk away just as happy as they are whenever you're finished.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so this program is all about mentors and bridging the gap between mentees and potential mentors. So who is your mentor, and what was like the best lesson they taught you?
I have two. My professional mentor would be Master Sergeant Martin, Isaiah Martin. He was the one that, when I was in Honor Guard, he was the individual that brought me into Honor Guard. He's the one that allowed me to be the trainer. He's the one that brought me over and taught me everything about Honor Guard and how this world works, and what it really means to be in the military. I still, to this day, I haven't seen him since 2017 when he went to, I don't remember where he went. I think it was Minot. He's been at a couple bases since then. I haven't seen him since then, but I have spoken to him quite often. I call him all the time just to ask him how he's doing and pick his brain about certain things, because he has a very, very strong mindset, very strong will, and he's going to do great things when he gets out of the military, as he's doing while he's in the military. My other mentor was a wounded warrior mentor. His name's Chris Rust, and he's a very calm, level-headed, godly man, and he travels all over the place just to simply listen. And he'll call me. He calls me often and says, "I just want to hear about your day." And you don't know what that does for you until you have the opportunity to say, "Okay, let me get this off my chest." And he's so willing to do that. And I learned that level of empathy from him, being able to just willingly sit down and say, "Okay, go. I'm not going to say anything. I'm here for comfort, not solutions. Let me be there for you." And that is so important. You don't realize how important it is until you have it and you get it and you feel it, and then you do it for somebody else and you reciprocate that. It's a wonderful thing. So those are my mentors. Those are what they've done for me in my career. And that's what I've learned from them and continue to learn from them.
Oh, amazing. I have my own I have many mentors, many of my mentors who viewers are going to have the luxury of hearing on later on in these series. And I'm very excited to have them on the show too. And I have one question. I have one more question. So what advice would you give to people who want to be in your exact position? I'm a person who would like to be the future executive director of the Office of Veteran Services and give back. What advice would you give to that person?
All right, here's how this is going to go. I'm going to give you a piece of my retirement speech that I gave to every single young airman that came to my retirement. It's the single thing that got me through the military and has gotten me to where I am today. And it's a sign that's behind me. You probably can't see it very well, but it says, "Be the change the world needs." You don't know what that means. You will. You're going to see things that you don't agree with, that does not make sense morally. You have to be able to stand up to that. You have to be able to stand up and say, "No, that's wrong. And this is the right way to do it." Being the change the world needs can be so many different things, but really it means that you can't change the person next to you, but you can change everything you do, which is going to change the individuals that come after you. So if you want to get to a position where I'm at, or where another individual of my position, my stature would be, it would be the change. You're not going to get anywhere if you're status quo. You have to make waves somewhere. You have to make waves somehow. I can tell you from being around other individuals of my stature, we're all relatively unique in our own way. You don't get here if you're just going along with the flow. It's pretty rare that somebody along, but you have to stand out and you have to be the change. That's what I stand for, and that's what I'll continue to stand for until the day I'm done doing this.
Absolutely. You got to be extraordinary. You got to stand out. You got to be changed. Nothing's going to get done unless you stand out and actually get. And well, I lied. There's one more question. I lied.
Ask away, bud.
Is there anything you would like to say to our viewers? Like anything?
If there was anything I was going to say, it was already said when I said be the change, or be willing to change. If you have any thoughts in your mind of being in the military, embrace the suck is a real thing. There are going to be days that are hard, but the best thing you can do is to wake up every day knowing that you're alive, that you get to open your eyes, make your bed in the morning. Gosh dang it, it makes a lot of sense to make your bed. I promise it's nice to climb in a nice made bed at the end of the day and begin changing that day. Start changing now. Start making the changes now. You want to be effective, make changes now. While you're young, while you have the chance, it's going to do wonders for you as your career progresses, such as yourself. I know you're making changes. I've spoken to you many times. You look very, very crisp when I see you. Your whole team looked wonderful. I was paying attention very closely to your honor guard team. Being an honor guardsman myself, I could not help myself, and they did a great job. I made sure they knew about it. I did fix a few ties that morning, but they allowed it willingly and said nothing to me other than "thank you, sir," which was great. They accepted my assistance, which much appreciated. But be the change. That's if there's one thing you get out of this whole conversation, it's be the change.
Absolutely, and we appreciate all the help at DMA. We always look for improvement. We always look for people willing to give advice and stuff. So we always open criticism with open hands and stuff. So we appreciate that. And when you said be the change, it reminded me of commencement address that Admiral William H. McRaven made to, I think, the University of Texas, where he said, if you want to change the world, make your bed every morning. And it resonated with a lot of people. And I remember it became like a big thing with me. And I was always, and I would always use that as I'm actually sitting next to a bed that's made right now. So it's something that I definitely recommend our viewers do. It gives you confidence that the day's going to be great. It makes you accomplish the first task of the day, as he said. So viewers definitely take this advice and run with it. And
I approve that message.
Next episode, we have Lieutenant Governor Bethany Hall in the state of Delaware coming in. Very excited, great lady. I believe Mr. Matticks knows her very well. Very excited to have her on the show. So stay tuned for that. Sir, thank you for joining me today. Loved everything you said. Yeah, I love everything you said.
I appreciate it. You will have a great conversation with Lieutenant Governor Bethany Hall Long. She's phenomenal, great speaker. I've listened to her many times. I've had many private conversations with her and public conversations. She's amazing. You're going to have a great time with her.
Absolutely.
And you are an amazing
Again,
cadet.
Thanks for watching Career Connection Chats. I hope you learned something great. I hope you learned something you want to teach other people. And if you want to be on our show, please email us at careerconnectionchats@gmail.com. And if you want to ask our guest speaker your own questions, please email at the email posted below. To see more, please visit our YouTube channel and share what you've learned.